are days I love my job, and other days I'm like, why don't I just get a sugar daddy? Well, hello everybody. It is your friendly neighborhood cancer patient here, back at you with another video where I'm just rambling on because that's what I do here. So hi, hello, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. Thanks for finding us. Like, that's pretty cool. Welcome to the chemo gang. Is that what we should call ourselves? Cancer gang? I don't know. I'm not popular enough to have a gang. Anyway, as some of you may or may not know, I have recently gone to work for the first time since being diagnosed. I started work again in March for the first time in 3.5 years. So I thought I would talk to you guys about what kind of process that has been, as well as give you some tips for knowing when you might be ready to go back to work, and how to make it a little easier on yourself when you do. So, I'm bad at intros, so let's just scooch on. Alrighty, so first of all, I'm going to tell you kind of how it's been going for me going back to work. So, I mean, it's been a really good process so far. As I said, I haven't worked in 3.5 years. So I started off by just taking my resume in places. Luckily, I only had to go into 2 places and I was hired, luckily, at my dream job at a bridal store, which I am very, very grateful for. Absolutely love it. So far, going back to work has been really great for me. I started slow. I'm only part-time. I have 2, 3, maybe on a good week, 4 shifts a week. And they're just in little 7-hour shifts, which, well, not little, but you know what, normal shifts. And yeah, I'm doing things that I can do. I'm not pushing myself too hard. My bosses aren't pushing me too hard. They've been really, really accommodating for me, which has been really great. I love my bosses. I absolutely love the girls I work with. They are an absolute joy. I don't think I've ever been this happy at a job before, which, you know, was something I was concerned about coming off of, you know, doing nothing for 3 years. And I am a person who enjoyed doing nothing. I loved just laying around watching Netflix. But this has done wonders for both my physical health and my mental health as well. First of all, like, I'm getting up and being active for most of the day. I'm either standing or walking, carrying dresses, which, you know, gotta work on the upper arm strength. So yeah, I'm moving around more often. I'm being more social, which is really good. And honestly, my mental health has not been this good in so long. I think it's been doing wonders for my depression. Of course, I am still medicated, so that accounts for a lot of it. But I think having something to do and occupy my mind with has been really good for me personally. I know for a lot of people it would make things harder, it might overwhelm them, but for me it's been great. So I am happy I decided to go back to work. Did I initially go back because I felt pressured to, between like bills and what all my friends were doing? Yes. Am I glad I went back? 100%. I don't feel that pressure anymore. I have kind of like realized doing whatever I can do is the best I can do. So yeah, that's some of my first advice. Don't feel pressured to go back if you're not ready. If you're not ready, take the time you need to finish recovering and just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So I guess that's going to segue a little into the next part, which is how do you know when you are ready to go back to work? So first step, track your symptoms. Keep track of everything. How you're feeling on this day. Did you not wake? Did you have to go to bed early? Were you nauseous? How do you feel the day of treatment? 2 days after? 5 days after? Are you too tired to go upstairs? Like things like that. Like I personally know for me during treatment, the day of treatment, I get a little bit of like a buzz, like an energy high for that day. And then I'm good for the next 4 days. But on the 5th day, I hit a really bad energy crash. Fatigue hits me so hard. I can barely be useful on my crash days. So I always know not to be scheduled 5 days after treatment. So I can avoid having to call in or having to go to work feeling like ass. So yeah, track your symptoms. Make sure you know as best as you can how your body is feeling when. And if you're tracking your symptoms, you know your body well enough and you feel like you're ready, it's great. Time to start really considering going back to work. And then the next step is going to be talk to your doctors. Make sure you get your doctor's approval to go back to work because you don't want to be doing anything that's going to be detrimental to your treatment or your recovery or your mental or physical health, obviously. So if your doctors are okay with you going back to work, do it. You don't have to, but I'm saying do it. Next, you should make sure you're okay with knowing you might not be able to do the same jobs and do things you were able to do before. Like my job before diagnosis was working at a pet food store, and I very regularly had to, heave 60-pound bags of dog food up onto shelves and in people's cars and stuff like that. And that is something I very much cannot do now. I can barely lift like my 5-pound cat. So I couldn't go back to doing that. Luckily, the job I'm doing now, sure, there are heavy dresses, but it's easy to manage. I take 1 at a time, 2 at a time, whatever. But I am okay with the fact I probably can't go back to a physically demanding job. Not that I want to, but I'm okay with the fact I can't. So make sure you know what your new strengths and weaknesses are. You may not be able to handle working with numbers anymore. I know that's hard for me. You might not be able to do something where you're standing or walking for a long time. You may not be able to sit for a long time. So it's important you know what your new self can and can't do, and try not to worry too much about what your old self did, because now we are working in our new normal. So that's really how you know you're ready to go back to work. You want to and you feel good. So that was probably longer than it needed to be, but we're going to move on. So here are some of my tips for when you do decide to go back to work. So the first thing you should do is start living like you're going back to work. And what I mean by that is like, wake up at the time you normally would for work. Start doing your morning routine the way you'll do it for work. Maybe take a drive, see how long it takes you to get to work, whether you're driving, someone drives you, or you're taking the bus or walking, whatever. See how long it takes you to get there and back. Account for things like rush hour. Maybe try and have your shifts work around that so you're not driving in rush hour. So after a long shift, you're not stuck in traffic. Start doing more things. Make sure you're more active during the day so you kind of know how much physical activity you'll be able to handle. Of course, you're not going to be able to know exactly how you're going to feel at work, but this is just a good process to get your body more ready and used to being back at work. A big one is start slow. Start part-time. Start with a flexible schedule, a couple shifts a week. Maybe something where you can work from home part-time, or whether you can be on call a majority of the time. Things like that. Don't overload yourself right out the gate, because nothing good is going to come from that other than stressing yourself out and probably having a negative effect on your physical health as well. So start slow. So going along with starting slowly, take more frequent, shorter breaks. I know personally when I start getting tired and I am between brides, I will go and sit down for a little bit, and I will let my boss know when like I'm not feeling great. I'll be like, hey, is it all right if I go sit down for 5-10 minutes? I had to do this on my first and second day. I was just honest. I was like, I need a minute. Can I just go sit down for a bit? And they were great, of course, let me go do that. And then I was ready to get back to work. So make sure you are taking breaks when you need them. So another thing you need to decide on is whether or not and how much of your diagnosis you're going to share with your bosses and your coworkers. You legally do not have to tell them anything about your sickness, about your cancer, blah, blah, blah. But you can decide if you want to tell them. I told my employers right out the gate. I said, yeah, I have cancer. That's why I have this big 3-year gap in my resume. I hope that's all right, but I'm good to go back to work. And they, of course, were very understanding. So, they're lovely. They check in with me a lot. And I also chose to tell all of my coworkers so they all know. As we all know, I'm very open about my cancer, and I understand some of you may not be, and you might want to keep it to yourself, and that is okay. I personally found it was a good idea because it made it easier for them to accommodate me. So they don't schedule me when they know I've had treatment, like on my 5th crash day, and they check in, make sure I don't need breaks. When I do need breaks, they are perfectly happy giving them to me. When I need to slow down, if I can't work as many days one week or not, they're very good with that as well. So I recommend letting your bosses at least in on it, but again, it's totally your choice. I can't speak to whether it's better to tell them or not because I have chosen to tell them. But whatever you do tell them is up to you. So make that decision for yourselves. Well, everybody, that's about all I have to say on the topic for now. I would love to hear any questions or comments you guys have. Either leave them down below in the comments or send me a message on Instagram and I will get back to you. Yeah, if you liked the video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Share it with all of your lymphomies and cancer buddies and anyone else going back to work after a illness, chronic or otherwise. And yeah, please give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe for more if you want to hear me ramble on for another while. I'm sure there's lots around here to click on. So again, thank you guys. I will talk to you later.